Welcome to another edition of Real Talk with Real People. This is Author Speak with Karoline Bethea-Jones and Renee McKinley. Thank you for listening to part 1. We are back with part 2 of our Candid conversation with. Thank you.
So so we were segueing into procrastinations and writing. Those writer's blocks are true things. That's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
And I'm not even, I'm not a real author. I'm a 2.5 author. Let me stop saying that.
I'm going to need you to stop saying that.
I know, let me stop saying that. People, I'm playing around.
Okay.
Because I am a published author.
Yes, you are. You better walk in that,
yes.
And you better claim that, girl.
Yes.
But you know why I want you to always claim that? Because it always leaves room for you to do more. If you put in your mind that this was a one-off, that I'm not a real author, I'm just did this one thing, there's never going to be any motivation for you to move on to do something else.
That is true. And what's so interesting about that is when I started writing for Pouring, first of all, Pouring was supposed to happen, not even Pouring, I don't even know what it was going to be called, but the idea for me to write a book was in 2013. Mm-hmm. Reached out to my girls and I said, hey, let's pull together a book. You can write about anything you want to. Now I had no clue about how to pull a book together. Yeah. Not an idea in 2013. Even in 2025 or 2023 when I wrote it, I still had no idea. But when I reached out to them and said individually, hey, I need you to answer these questions for me. Hey. And then when they all started to help me, when people think that they're helping you, they will get the job done. Yeah. So they decided, let me help my sister and answer these questions. And when they started to, give me the responses back and then I had to further trick them and say, hey, give me a little bio about yourself. So then they did that. And then it really started to come together. So nobody knew what I was doing. I didn't even know what I was doing. I was pulling out my hair. So many a times I wanted to stop writing. Okay. Because one, I didn't know what I was doing. So that's procrastination. Because I didn't feel like I wanted to continue on with something that I did not know what I was doing in the first place. It was such a struggle. And then two, I wanted to fill up more pages and I didn't know how to exactly do that. So I reached out to a couple of them and said, hey, you guys want to write some poetry? So that helped them write. That helped me move forward into continuing the writing process because I was, again, at a pause step because I wanted to do something additional and I just didn't have the capacity myself to do it. Then I had to reach out to somebody else and they helped me to continue. But so many times I wanted to say, oh my God, this is such a hard task because I didn't know what I was doing that I just didn't even want to finish writing. I was nowhere near finished writing. And it was just so much easier to say, they didn't give me this. Let me just take a break and not get this done. But then I had to realize the longer I not do the task, the longer this book will never be done. Absolutely. It will never be done.
But even though you're talking about procrastination, it wasn't really procrastination, I don't think. So let's go back to the procrastination, but let's talk a little bit about putting together a list. Okay. And what I mean by that is that when you started writing, you knew exactly what you wanted to do, but you did not know how.
Right.
To actually,
it was truly when God gave it back to me and said, this is your year, you're going to write this book. He told me, I received it, you're going to write about sisterhood. Now, I didn't know I didn't know it was going to be pouring, blah, 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 blah. I didn't even have a title. I knew it was going to be sisterhood something. And then I gave it to my daughter-in-law once I was kind of finished. And she said, just call it pouring. A story of sisterhood. That's it. Oh my God. That is it because we're pouring into each other. But yes, I had an idea of what this entire book was going to look like. Yeah. Except the parts when I wanted to fill in some more. Yeah. I didn't that kind of came like after the fact when I started to put it all together. But yes, I pretty much, and I'm a list person. I'm a project manager by trade. So I live off the list.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything in my being is a list. It's a list. There's several lists in this telephone about things that I need to do. Mm-hmm. This podcast today was on the list of things.
On the list of things.
Yes. So yeah, for me, my book was list driven.
List driven, right.
List driven. True story, list driven.
Yeah, but again, like I said, I love when we're talking candidly.
Yeah.
Because when we're talking candidly, we're able to, without looking at, well, let's stay to the note.
We're not doing that.
I know you're saying, aren't we supposed to be on the, I don't want us to be on notes. Because I want us to be able to let our conversation flow. Yeah. However it goes. This is going to be a part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. However, what we're talking about. Because I want it to flow. Yeah. But I want to, because while you were talking about sisterhood and that, God had given you, this is what you're going to be writing about. Yeah. In my mind, I'm thinking, wow. Because what maybe she's not realizing is that this is a series of things, not just a one-off of. Because sisterhood will take you down. I just got finished telling you about the sisterhood gathering that I have for my pre-birthday and how it touched me. When we meet again, it may not be the same women that are in my backyard because Sisters Help and Sisters in Christ Ministry, it's like a revolving door of women that are coming in and out. Yes. In and out. It's never the same group of women. Yes. So when you talk about sisterhood, I'm looking at a series of writing coming from you about different relationships.
I'm about to receive it. I have received it, God. Because let me just tell you something. The person, God rest her soul, Brenda Gray, who wrote the foreword for Pouring. Mm-hmm. She said, Renee, where's the workbook? I said, workbook? I'm trying to get this little piece of work out. What do you mean a workbook? She said, oh my God, I see this. Exactly. I said, what? I tell you, God will send you people who you need to hear from.
That's what I'm saying.
I had no clue. I just wanted to get that off my chest, produce it, be finished with it, and I was done. But as she was reading it, she said, oh, no, you need a workbook. I see several things coming out of this. I said, you do? When I tell you, I'm narrow-minded. I was narrow-minded about this one particular project. She said, oh, no.
I can see that,
you just said the same thing.
Yes, because I can see you. Because you, every conversation that we've had, you have had a narrow focus.
Yes.
The difference between us is not our skills on writing and stuff. It is my creativity. Yes. It is my ability to see beyond. I tell people all the time, you see right here, you got this gate in front of you, and you're like, what's happening within this gate? Me, I open up that gate and I want to say, what's happening in the universe?
Oh my God.
Because I want to go further.
Yes. Yes. Because we just talked about, so guys, Karoline is also a part of my group called Bells and Bloom, right? So
yes, proud to be a part of Bells and Bloom.
Karoline, go Bells and Bloom. So we just had this whole photo shoot of purple. Purple is her favorite color. Purple. You don't know, I'm looking at a room that's full with purple, which is her favorite color. And she said, oh my God, I'm coming. But when you were just talking about how women come in and, so purple was, we had 3 new women join Purple.
That's
when I first started this in 2020, I had 25 women.
That's right.
25 women. Some of them come, go. Some of them have remained the same. But things change. Situations change.
That's right.
Sometimes we circle back. Sometimes we don't. But there's so many different stories there's so many different books that could be produced.
That's right.
Out of this.
Bells and Bloom could be a book.
Bells and Bloom.
About every experience that you are having with every single color. I love this color thing.
Karoline. Did you talk to her? Because God, I know you and I might have had a conversation. Somebody done put it in my spirit that I was supposed to do a Bells and Bloom, like a coloring book where each color becomes a book or a coloring book or coloring print. I just had this conversation with somebody.
One of the things that, and this is what I mean also too about knowing your calling. I know my calling. And sometimes my calling is not to be up front.
Yes.
I have said my whole entire life I felt like I have been unassuming. Nobody cares whether I live or die.
Oh,
Nobody cares that I'm in the room. But what my gift is always being able to motivate, encourage, inspire, and uplift someone else to continue into what they're doing. I can accept that as being my calling and my gift.
Yeah.
God has always put me in places and spaces. And that is what Sisters Helping Sisters in Christ Ministry is all about.
Love it.
It is an empowerment organization. It is not static. That means women are coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. And every opportunity gives me an opportunity to do just what I did with you, to open up your mind to say, wait a minute, I never thought about that. Because sometimes you just need that person.
Yes.
Who's going to remind you of who you are, what you can do, and how you can be.
And sometimes, God, we need help too, right?
Well, he's always there in the forefront, always. I love this podcast. I love being able to have this conversation with you and all the authors that we have brought in.
Yes, and we've had some great authors.
We've had some great authors. And I wanted to have some space for you and I to be able to just sit and have a candid conversation about the podcast that we came into together to try to build up authors. Absolutely. But sometimes we need to try to build up ourselves.
And that is true.
You know?
That is true. We probably should have some kind of little session. Here's the thing for me. You know, I'm all about self-care, right? My other business, Keep Yourself Smiling Sweet, is all about self-care and taking some time out for myself. I run so much that, and I do a little self-care for myself, but in that self-care, I have not, again, carved out space for writing. Yeah. I've carved out space for our podcast, right? Even today we're doing podcasts. But it's so many, we have so many layers and levels of ourselves that I have not prioritized those things. Yeah. Because I knew from day one of Bells and Bloom, not about the workbook because I wasn't there. Yeah. But I knew that I wanted to turn that into something else. Hence why Bells and Bloom podcast came, because I knew I wanted to do that with Bells and Bloom. But I wanted to maybe make like a little fashion magazine out of Bells and Bloom. But I was like, God, I don't have the time for that. Then I wanted to, like I said, make the coloring page. God, I don't have time for that. Now, I mean, you guys are giving me this other book, these other series that's coming out. So I got to figure out in my listing of making time for those things too.
And you're absolutely right. And this still comes into the realm of procrastination. What we need to do, what we need to do as writers too. One of the things that I had to really start thinking about is like today, for instance. Yeah. Today I woke up saying, I'm going to sit on my front porch and I'm going to finish writing as much as I can with deception. Yes. Okay, I got up, I got dressed, I'm ready, and then I was like, I'm about to go and get some bagels. Let me ride with you, because I figured whatever. While I'm in the car with him, and while I get the text from Kiana, do you think you can watch Naomi for me while I go do something? And it's like, of course, Naomi is always going to be welcome to my house. But here we go. I can't write with Naomi here because she's a very demanding little girl. And what I love about her is that she demands that her time is her time. And like, you know, if I pick up the phone, she's like, I'm going to need you to put that phone down because I'm here.
Because I'm here.
And you know?
What's your priority today?
And I love that. And see, this is how we also can learn even from little kids. Like a little child will lead them. You know what I'm saying?
That is true.
What I don't do, Renee, and what I need to do is demand my space to do the things that I love. I am so quick to say, yes, I can do this for you. I can do that for you. Please, let me help you. Right. And I'm taken away. Right. It is not selfish and it's not mean of me to say, look, I'm sorry, no. Because I've set up this time for me.
And it's so interesting, right? So I'm coming from church, right? I told you I just came from off the highway, did my church thing. Now, this was a busy week for me. I was acting this week. I was vending this week. I had women's ministry our weekend. So, I was in revival Friday night. Yeah. Saturday morning we had church. Saturday afternoon I had to hit the road. I had to get back here to finish up our women's ministry weekend. And I knew on my list was Karoline and podcasting. And I text Karoline. Here's a little bit of my procrastination. I text Karoline and said, we still on for the day? Because we hadn't talked about it. We set a date.
Yeah. And it was in my calendar.
It was in my calendar. But we set this date, I think, about a month ago.
Yeah, about a month ago.
So, we people of our word. And so it's in our calendar, in my list. And I said, I ain't hear from Karoline. So I wonder if. So I said, let me text.
Yeah.
Let me text. But see, Spirit won't let you just, sometimes Spirit won't let you just do the one thing.
Yeah.
I said, oh, Lord, it's getting late. Let me call Karoline and say we're still on. Now, mind you, I am so exhausted. So if Karoline had said, no, we need to reschedule, I would have been happy as a little somebody.
But that's what we do. That's what we do. And one of the things, and guess what? When I was waiting for you to make sure that because I heard you say, when I sent you an invitation to join us for our spiritual walk. But you wasn't able to make it. You said, I can't make it because I have a women's ministry on my church weekend. Yes. And I'm saying, but I'm in my heart, I'm saying, but we got something on the calendar for Sunday. Yes. But I said, I'm going to wait for her to call me. Yes. I'm going to wait for her to tell me. But when you gave me that text, I was like, see, you know what? No. Because Renee is like me. We're the same. This was on our calendar. So this is... And if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't become a reality.
Right. Yes.
Right?
That's right.
I text Kiana and I said, okay, I know I got Naomi, but Renee's coming over at 2:30 for a podcast, so I'm going to need, I'm going to need you to be back home by then, And when you came in, you saw that she came right on.
She did. She sure did.
But that's what we have to do, Renee. When we're talking about procrastination, and this, you may think that we were off topic. We were never off topic.
At all.
Because as we are speaking candidly, it comes back to the procrastination. And one of the excuses that we make for not being able to put ourselves on the calendar, right?
Yeah, that's true. And it's so easy to do, it's so easy to put ourselves in the back.
Yes.
It's so easy to make excuses.
Yes.
But when I say that, and I try to be a person of my word, when I say I'm showing up for you, I'm showing up for you. So I showed up for Karoline.
Yes.
But if this was just Renee sitting at home and that something was on my list, ooh, I could get to that later.
That's what I'm trying to say.
I could get to that later.
And I'm glad you said it like that. Because, see, ladies and gentlemen who listening to this podcast, Renee showed up for me, and I showed up for her.
Yes.
But here is what the thing is. We need to show up for ourselves.
That's right.
And we're so busy showing up for everybody else that we do not understand that the first person we need to show up for is us.
It's us. It's us.
Right?
Yeah.
So one of the tips that we're going to put out to help us with procrastination is to put ourselves on the calendar.
Absolutely.
Because when we put ourselves on the calendar, we're going to honor what's on the calendar. So instead of me saying, oh, I think I'm going to write today, no, I need to put it on the calendar. Yeah. I need to put Tuesdays and Thursdays typically is when I don't have Naomi. I have Naomi Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, right? I tell other people, oh, I can't do this, that, or the other on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday because I have Naomi.
She's told me that, y'all.
Yes. Can we meet is that on a Monday? No, I'm sorry. I have Naomi. What about, hey, Karoline, is that on a Wednesday? I'm sorry. I have Naomi.
That's
you,
right.
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand. I've been on the receiving end.
Exactly. But if we could be so diligent.
Yes.
About saying, no, I can't do that because I have this, that, or the other, then we need to put ourselves on the calendar. Right. And somebody needs to say, Karoline, can you do this? And I need to look on my calendar and say, no, I cannot because that's my writing time. And that 2 hours is for me that I'm going to do some writing. Yes. We need to put ourselves on the calendar. So maybe one of the tips, and I'm sure you'll think of some more, but right now I'm going to put out one tip for procrastination, and that is put yourself on the calendar for writing.
Yes.
Even if you are not
inspired,
that's right. Make it non-negotiable. I am on the calendar.
Right.
Somebody calls you up and say, "Can we do?" You're gonna say, "No, I have something on the calendar."
Because we can always put something on the calendar, right? But we can always move it. But we have to make it non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable. I have to be here.
And if 2 hours, if 2 hours is too much, give yourself 30 minutes. Give yourself 30 minutes and say, in 30 minutes you can write down a couple of ideas. But you got to stick to it.
Yeah, I need to 2 hours.
Yes,
because it may take me 30 minutes to do some pre-writing stuff. Like,
but that's still writing, though.
It is still writing, but it's not progress to me.
Okay.
Because I can't tell you, well, first of all, when I sit down to do work on deception, I'm reading 4 chapters ahead that I've already written so I can stay in that momentum. It's going to take me at least 30 minutes to read 4 chapters.
Right. So that right there, right? So we're talking somebody who's already in the progress of writing something versus where I'm coming from. You might just be starting out writing something.
Yes, I got you.
So we're going to say yes. We're going to put ourselves on the calendar.
Yes.
We're going to give us a dedicated non-negotiable time.
Okay. Yeah. I got that.
So
I got that.
Caroline's may be 2 hours.
Yes.
Renee's might be, oh gosh, okay, let me just get 30 minutes to get these 1, 2, 3 lines down today. And then I'll pick it up on my next schedule
makes
time.
sense. So that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because there's more than one way to skin a catfish.
There is. Is there? Okay, we can continue talking because maybe within our conversation you'll come up with one other reason or one other tip as to we can give our listeners as to help us with procrastination. Okay. I don't want to have to sit here and try to figure out what are those tips. We shouldn't have to. As we're talking,
because we're not procrastinating.
No, we're not. So as we are talking, we're going to come up with our own solutions. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I do a lot of. This is one of the reasons why having this podcast, Real Talk with Real People, a candid conversation with, was important to me. Because even though I got 4 different segments, they're all the same thing. I want us to have a conversation about whatever that topic is. Right. When I'm talking to somebody with my all things spiritual. Yeah. We're just having a spiritual conversation. Really? So wherever that spiritual conversation leads us, we're going to answer some questions. We're going to talk about some things, but it's candid. I don't want it scripted. So here we're talking. This is our authors speak. So we are authors, and we are speaking, and we are speaking candidly. Yes. But in the process of our speaking, we're going to find some solutions to some things.
Absolutely, and I think that is a great goal because a lot of newer authors than me, right? Because I was a new author before. I got a little book, 1.5 books under my belt. So newer authors, right? They may not know some tips or know, how to just sit there and just focus on the moment. And sometimes, people think that when you're writing, you got to write the whole story.
You have been listening to part 2 of A Candid Conversation with authors Karoline Bethea-Jones and Renee McKinley. We hope you return for part 3, which is coming soon. Thank you for listening.